happening YouTube? Jenny Tong here, animal pack athlete and resident weightlifter. For this month's YouTube video, I will be sharing with you what my diet looks like whilst I'm cutting for a competition. More importantly, I will be showing you all the ways that I have used the animal pack protein powders to satisfy my very sweet tooth. Anyone who knows me personally knows that I have a killer sweet tooth. And I'm a firm believer in moderation, so I don't think that I should have to cut out all the things that I love, aka dessert, just because I am trying to make weight. So I will be showing you how I use the whey protein powder not only to increase my protein intake, but to also satisfy those sweet cravings. I hope you enjoy. We are kicking things off with one of my favourites. These are blueberry and white chocolate baked protein oats. One thing that will become very apparent over the course of this YouTube video is that I use quark a lot. Quark is a thick, high protein, soft cheese, but I promise you it doesn't taste like cheese. For lunch, I then had what can best be described as a naked taco bowl. I promise I also did have a salad with it. And obviously plenty of cheese. My evening plans consisted of going to watch the England game with my housemates and, of course, celebrated when we scored. By the time we got home, it was super late and I couldn't actually be bothered to make dinner. So, of course, we just fussed over the dog instead. This is Toast. He is my housemate's dog, but he's our dog. Fun fact, not only is Toast a very needy boy, as can be seen in this video, he is also deaf. Anyway, despite the fact that I wasn't that hungry, I knew I still had to hit my protein goals for the day, so I decided to make some protein pancakes. For the pancake mix, I used vanilla whey protein, banana and quark. I also threw in some chocolate chips in there and crumbled a Biscoff biscuit on top because why the hell not? One thing that was super important during this cut was meal prep. By planning and preparing my meals in advance, I found that I was less likely to reach for convenient food. So before I made my breakfast, I threw together this Mediterranean salad and cooked up some chicken that I'd had marinating from the day before and put it aside for later. Once that was done, it was time to make my breakfast. Again, you can see me mixing in some vanilla protein powder into my quark. I threw in some white chocolate chips and added some blueberries too. Now you're probably wondering why I use quark and not Greek yogurt. The simple answer is that quark is higher in protein per gram and lower in fat. For this yogurt pot, I used 80 grams of quark and half a scoop of whey protein powder, which came to about 21 grams of protein. Part 2 of my breakfast consisted of an egg omelette with bacon medallions and cheese. For the omelette, I used 1 egg and 1 egg white. This meant my total protein intake for breakfast was around 42 grams. You may be wondering, but Jenny, there are no carbs in your breakfast. Well, fear not, because I did put granola on my yogurt. Next up was the chicken and salad I prepared earlier. Again, you're probably wondering where my carbs are, and it's important to note that when I'm cutting, I do have limited carbs to play with. Moreover, this day was actually a rest day, which meant I wasn't burning that much energy and I really didn't actually need that many carbs. The whole point of cutting is to be in a calorie deficit, and of course, carbs tend to have more calories in them. That's not to say that I don't consume carbs or that they're bad for you. Put simply, when you're in a calorie deficit and taking a rest day, your body doesn't need as much quick energy. During rest days, glycogen isn't being used as heavily, so lowering carbs encourages your body to burn more stored fat without affecting recovery or performance. And the protein and total calories you do consume do most of the repair work. During my next full day of filming, I actually had an unintentional fasted morning because I was so busy with work. However, the benefit of fasting is that your body spends more time in a low insulin state, which helps it burn stored fat more efficiently. Anyway, onto my delicious protein concoction. I mixed half a sachet of instant oats with some vanilla whey protein and strawberry yogurt, dashed in a sprinkle of sea salt, threw in some blueberries and popped it in the microwave. Because my portion sizes are quite small, I found that half a scoop of Animal Pack's protein powder was just enough to add the protein value without making the taste overpowering or it ruining the consistency of whatever I was making. As I alluded to earlier, I was super busy on this day, so I didn't even get a chance to sit and eat it at the kitchen table. I was straight back to my desk. And of course, Toast wanted some too. This late morning snack came to around 20 grams of protein and about 25 grams of carbohydrates. I actually had plans to go to dinner with a friend after training on this day, so I opted for a naked fajita bowl for my lunch. That's my housemate Katie's dumplings. But when I got home, I actually had some ice cream. This is a new brand of low-calorie ice cream owned by Charles Leclerc, the F1 driver. I have tried all of their flavours and I'm a big fan. The next day, I was heading out to site for work. Those of you who don't know, I work in project management in construction. And on the days that I'm on site, I do find I get really hungry. And as I'm sure you can imagine, the cafe on site doesn't really cater to the low-calorie diet. The food in the canteen is actually really good quality and really healthy. However, they are there predominantly to serve labourers and tradespeople, so it does tend to be quite carb and calorie heavy. Yeah, they don't cater to the low carb lifestyle. So for breakfast, I had 1 egg, 1 egg white, made some scrambled eggs. Sidebar, if you don't season your eggs, weird. I then had half a bagel and some smoked salmon. I do get asked quite a lot what my macro split and total calorie intake is when I'm cutting, and it's not really something I ever share. My reasoning for this is that everyone's different. Everyone has a different body, different daily routines, different energy outputs and demands on them. And basically, my macro split is tailored to me personally. Over the years, I've worked with several nutritionists who have educated me on what my body needs and what my body responds to best. Being quite carb and gluten sensitive means that they trigger bloating and water retention, which in essence makes the scales jump around. Essentially, prioritising carbs when they actually benefit me, like on long days at work or around training, when I actually use them instead of holding on to them, helps me track my weight more accurately. Anyway, a quick 1.5 hour commute to the office and I'm straight to work. For lunch, I started with some electrolytes and then went out and got some chicken, rice and salad. I think for some people, the concept of eating chicken and rice so often can seem really boring, but I also think that's because a lot of people don't understand the importance of seasoning. Seasoning changes everything. Anyway, for dessert, I had some raspberries and they had a yellow sticker on them, guys. They were so cheap. They were so good as well. You may have noticed there is a slight pattern emerging here. I seldom have time to actually take a lunch break and I tend to work through my lunch breaks, but alas, we move. And by move, I mean straight onto the construction site. 5-point PP on and your girl is in business. When I got home, I prepared my lunch for the following day, which was beef marinated in chimichurri. And then I threw together a huge bowl of chicken teriyaki stir fry. Again, reiterating the importance of seasoning and flavour. Both these meats had been marinating since that morning. And like clockwork, it was time to do it all over again. The previous day, I'd received a box of sups from Animal Pack, and by sups, I mean just protein powder, because I was getting through so much protein powder at this point. You may not be able to tell by my body language because looking back, I look very laissez-faire, but I was actually in a mad rush. This meant I was basically just throwing together a protein porridge thing. So I put half a scoop of chocolate protein powder, 80 grams of quark and half a sachet of instant oats. I have to be honest, this was not my finest work. Oh yeah, I did also throw in some chocolate chips. Visually, I would probably give it a -10, but at the end of the day, the main goal was to just make sure I was getting enough protein in, and it tasted okay. The lead up to this comp was quite stressful because we were wrapping up some quite significant projects whilst embarking on some new ones too. And anyone who works in project management or specifically construction knows that that closeout period is intense. And I don't know about anybody else, but I do tend to use food as a comfort when I'm stressed or just as a form of distraction. So not being able to just grab whatever I was fancying in that moment was tough. This definitely meant that staying on top of my meal preps and planning my snacks throughout the day was really important, particularly on the days where I knew I was going to be out of the house for long periods of time, maybe on site and then going straight to training. We all know what it's like to forget your lunch or go out shopping when you're hungry and then you end up making poor choices. Anyway, coffee and far from aesthetic breakfast packed, and it was time to get to work. I forgot to film it, but I did also pack the beef that I prepared the night before, and I also made some salmon in a soy, honey, garlic and ginger marinade, served with broccoli and rice. As I was heading straight to the gym after work, I made sure I took plenty of food with me so that I could go into my session well fueled, especially as I had a heavy session planned. So here I am maxing out my kneeling plate jump. Please don't ask me how many inches or centimeters that is because I have no idea. But what I do know is that it is the highest kneeling plate jump I have done in a while. So I was pretty happy with myself. Next up on the menu were snatches. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on the bar we have 80 kilos. And for context, I have not snatched that all year, nor have I tried. So to do it on my first attempt, 2 weeks out from the English Championships, was a huge confidence boost. I did forget to film my dinner, apologies, but I was in such a post-training haze that all I could think about was just getting home and getting some sustenance in me. However, once I'd had my refeed, it was time to prepare my evening snacky snack. Now, pay attention because this one is a winner. And look, it's not rocket science, it's literally just strawberry protein powder and quark, okay? But it really does show when you cut out most of the junk food in your diet, how satisfying the most simple things can be. So I mixed in some chopped strawberries and half a Biscoff biscuit. As usual, 80 grams of quark and half a scoop of the whey protein. And yeah, I mean, look at my face. Look how happy I am. Look how smug with myself I look. After a long day at work and a big session in the gym, this went down an absolute treat. Back to meal prepping, and I prepared a chicken casserole for the following day. Again, I knew it was going to be a really busy one, and I had some heavy cleaning jerks planned as well, so I really didn't want to have to get home and think about cooking dinner. I kicked off my day with my favourite protein-packed breakfast and then got straight into work. By this point, I was firmly into comp week and slowly starting to cut out fibre. For lunch, I made a light version of a chicken and rice noodle stir-fry type thing. The serving as a whole came to just under 400 grams, which I then split into 2 portions. One for my lunch and one for pre-training. Per half portion, this meal came to around 200 calories, giving me around 20 grams of protein and about 15 grams of carbohydrates. While that might not sound like a lot, I went into the session feeling really well fueled and energized. I was able to comfortably hit some big lifts, which was another huge confidence boost. Safe to say my body was definitely in need of a bit of TLC at this point. So post-training, I went for a deep tissue massage, went home, ate my casserole and climbed into bed. The next day was my final day of fibre before I had to move on to a low residue diet. I'd had a really crappy morning and had to take my car into the garage, and then of course public transport let me down. So as an act of self-care, I made myself the most delicious baked apple and cinnamon protein oats. Using my 3 staples of whey protein, quark and oats, this was by far the most delicious recipe of the whole cup. I definitely saved the best till last. Over the next few days, I decided to stop filming my meals so that I could lock in and give my recovery and my last few sessions all of my focus without thinking about having to get out my camera every time I was going to eat. Comp day quickly came round, and you'll be pleased to know that I did make weight. This competition was important for many reasons. Not only was it the qualification event for the European Championships, but after a really testing 2025 and it easily being the hardest, most painful year of my life, it was my last opportunity to close things out on a good note. We started off strong, hitting 3 for 3 in the snatches, finishing on 79 kilos, 4 kilos above second place. Next up for the second part of the competition were the clean and jerks, and this is usually where I struggle the most, especially if I've done a weight cut. If not done correctly, a cut can really zap your energy, which will leave you completely depleted by the time it gets to the clean and jerks. At this point, I'd made my first 2 clean and jerks of 90 and 93 and hit the minimum qualification standard for the European Championships. For my final attempt, we decided to go for 95 kilos. Making this would create a 7 kilo gap between me and second place.
It's time to introduce your athletes for the...
And there it was, 3 for 3 on clean and jerk. A 6 for 6 performance with 174 kilo total at 53 kilo body weight. With competition personal bests across the board and being crowned English champion for the 3rd time in the hardest year of my life. This competition meant more to me than just titles or qualification totals. This was a reminder that the hard work and the dedication was an act of self-love. A reminder that with every challenge comes growth. A reminder of what it means to be an animal pack athlete.